So tell us a little bit about what happened here, because of course this was a big call from JPMorgan. We really watched this closely.
Yes, this really is a case of the power of the written word here, because this all began on March the 14th when a JPMorgan analyst and his team, they labeled the Chinese internet sector as uninvestable, and they downgraded a number of companies like Alibaba and JD.com and King's Cloud Soft. Now, this triggered huge consequences. About $200 billion was erased from the US and the Asian markets. And in fact, JPMorgan lost its lead underwriter position on Kingsoft Cloud, in fact, because of this. Now, really what it signals is how complicated it can be to navigate the sort of path when research departments of banks want to make downbeat calls on their investment banking clients. Now, as it turns out, the word uninvestable was never supposed to be in those reports. Editors have gone through the 28 reports and eliminated the word from most of them, all but 4, in fact, or replaced the word with the word unattractive, but the rest is history.
It's really interesting that JPMorgan in that statement saying that, essentially that the heart of the research they stand by, a few subjective terms used interchangeably doesn't change that. But the stakes are very high in this highly sensitive market of China.
Yeah, that's right. And JPMorgan, for one, has huge ambitions to grow there. It had, toward the end of last year, about $20 billion in exposure, and it had just won last year as well approval to fully own a securities venture there. The country represents a huge opportunity for many in the finance industry. BlackRock, too, started to own its own venture in the country. Goldman Sachs has done similarly. But it really shows how complicated it is for countries, for banks rather, that are trying to expand in the country and navigating this very sensitive geopolitical climate. And JPMorgan knows this very well, and perhaps more than others. If you recall Jamie Dimon, the CEO, he made a quip about JPMorgan outlasting the Communist Party there, which he was forced to say he regretted. So it's a very complex situation in the country, and in banks, they have to navigate this tricky path very carefully.